the cinematographic, whatever.
Yo YouTube, welcome back to First Time Watching, coming to you from right here on the thecomicjon YouTube channel. I am your host, your director of distraction, your coordinator of confusion, John Hassinger. And joining us as always, your spiritual Han Solo, Andrew Benford. Andrew, all I wrote down here on my notes was beard comment, and you are really making that a powerful counterpart to your C-3PO.
Yeah, I'm devoted to it as long as the wife doesn't have me sleeping on the porch. So
right.
Until that happens, I'm good for now.
Or on a park bench. And always here on FTW, the reason we started the show, your Nicaraguan Mr. Anderson. Cornelio Manjarres, a.k.a. CJ. Did the drapes get a good steam recently? They're looking really sharp.
Different lining. Cool story. We actually did iron them when we hang them. They were actually ironed. Yes.
I did that once before for an ex, and I'll never do it again. I know the viewers are always confused and frustrated when you guys are not here. And for those viewers who email me about CJ and Andrew, wondering why they're not more of a permanent fixture on the channel, well, that's where we need your help. The more people you tell to subscribe, that will allow us to deliver more consistent content like weekend reaction, hot take movie reviews, trailer reaction videos, and yes, first time watching. So if you're new to the channel, please remember to send your questions and comments to thecomicjon@gmail.com. But before you do that, slice the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, tell your grandmother, and let us know about your first time watching John Wick. First impressions of John Wick. The cast is so underrated and overshadowed by Keanu's breathtakingness. I just wanted to run down the people that are in this movie. All right, aside from obviously Keanu Reeves, Ian McShane, Deadwood, Emmy Award winner. Alfie Allen, aka Theon Greyjoy, who amazingly plays another character that screws his own family again. Crazy.
As MO at this point, right?
Right, that's he's typecast. William Dafoe, Toby Leonard Moore, Dean Winters, a.k.a. the guy from the Mayhem commercials, Kevin Nash, and one of my favorite actors of all time, and I think he's so underrated, and I don't see him enough, John Leguizamo. He's I always love everything he does, and even in this movie, he's great.
I try and think of like what else I've seen him in, and for some reason my brain always goes back to The Pest.
I got a Julie Newmar and Romeo and Juliet.
But no, he was great in this. He was fantastic in that movie.
To me, it lived up to the hype, and I don't think the hype was anything astronomical. No one was saying this was the best movie ever. Everyone was it felt like this was a cooler Taken.
Yeah.
An actor that we love to watch kicks ass throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you feel for him immediately, right? I mean, it's just like you kind of see the things unfolding. I mean, you see that the beginning scene, which is the end of the movie, right, where he's just trying to watch the video of his wife, and you really kind of feel for him. But it ramps up pretty quickly, right?
Oh yeah, it just gets right into it. But I think the combination of him losing his wife to cancer, and then her leaving him this puppy, and writing the note saying like, now you don't have to grieve alone. Like, that is so massive. Like, that's tonnage, because it's like your heart is being ripped apart and put back together like simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like every time you see this puppy, you're going to love it, but you're also going to just think about your wife. And I guess over time, you'll just be thinking about her positively, because I think, and from what I've heard, and you can answer this, as time goes on, you really hold on to the good memories.
Yeah.
Of someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the best of what you remember and what you got. And his big motivation in this is like, it's funny. There's those moments where it's like, all we did was take his car, and all it was just a puppy, and like you're doing all these things. But it's like, no, like, first off, John Wick is as a man of principle and focus. And there's so many like interesting quotable lines of just like who he is and the whole like boogeyman and the
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, yeah. But it's just funny just to see. Sometimes we just have a bad day and we're just like, man, I could just like beat that person up. But it's like, nah, John Wick's just like, that's not who you mess with, because he has a really good rapport of what's or backlog and history of what he's done and been a part of. And I don't know. I thought it was a really fun, for me, one of the reasons I enjoyed the first movie was I thought it was just a really fun flick. I'm always down for a good action film. Anyone that's seen past videos of us know that I like Keanu Reeves. I think he's fantastic. I thought he just plays this character so well. While it's not necessarily like always the most emotion filled person, he really is, right? Because his actions are based on an emotional reaction to what's going on. And I just think that he just plays it so well. And I joked, or I'd read something recently that made me laugh about. I haven't seen Toy Story 4, but evidently Keanu Reeves is in it. Did he play the spork?
I don't think so, because if it like, it sounds nothing like him. Like he did a Bradley Cooper. If he's Forky, I've only seen. Disney Plus has these little shorts with Forky where he asks like a common question, what's money? What's a friend?
Yeah.
And he doesn't sound anything like Keanu Reeves. I got to look that up now. It's going to bother me.
Maybe I'm off, and it may be that he's not in it at all. But I had read something recently. Actually, it might have actually just been a video interview. Tim Allen was on one of the late shows recently, and he was talking to Keanu Reeves, and he said he was dressed just like John Wick, like in all black. It was a little intimidating. He had said something to him about like, hey, I got it. I know how to take John Wick out, right? Keep him out of a warehouse or tight hallways and quarters, because his fighting style is probably one of the most unique I've ever seen in cinema. Just being able to fight with the gun, without the gun, firing shots. It's just a very interesting fighting style. But he says, hey, this is how I would take John Wick out. We all know he's got a puppy, and I'd wait till he comes out. I'd have a rifle across the street, and I would just shoot him as he takes the dog out. And Keanu, without missing a beat, just turns and solemnly looks at him and says, Wick would know. It actually terrified Tim Allen a little bit. I don't know what made me think of that. It just popped into my head. It was just a really funny thing to hear about.
It would have been really cool if Keanu looked at Tim Allen and was just like, and then I would have went like this.
And just stop the bullet.
Yes.
Exactly.
But comparing it to Taken is where I keep going with this. And it's so funny, Keanu, you're talking about Keanu Reeves, and for a while I was not like a hater. I just saw Keanu Reeves in a movie, or in a preview for a movie, and I thought, I'm gonna have to listen to him talking like this for the whole time, and that just kind of like makes me sleepy. I don't know. There's just something about it where I'm like, I wasn't into it. And then after forcing myself to sit down and watch all the Matrixes, it's so obvious that he is such a great actor. He just looks goofy sometimes. I'm sorry, Mr.
No, yeah.
Reeves, but he looks kind of goofy. But in John Wick, he looks kind of like Jesus, with the beard and long black hair. And I wanted to ask you, would you rather watch a trilogy with Keanu Reeves kicking ass the whole time, or with Liam Neeson?
Oh man, that's a hard question. Because they're both great.
Right, but I think at this stage, like, Keanu's action is not going to require a lot of camera tricks, where Liam Neeson, there's scenes in Taken where he like climbs over this fence and you're like, whoa, Grandpa, calm down there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. No, I think it would probably be Keanu, because I go back to watching him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and all the fun around those. So he's been just an actor that I've appreciated. I won't say he's my favorite actor ever, but if there's a movie, I'm going to see it. And, I'd seen the first John Wick a couple of times. So it was fun to go back through and watch it this time. I have not fully seen the second or at all the third. And I think part of that, you'll, probably understand this better now. But about the times that those were coming out, I mean, when you have kids, it's just impossible to go see a movie in theaters. It's definitely not a movie to ever watch with your kids in the room if they're at a young age.
That's why it was so hard for me to watch this movie.
So I think I just missed that wagon. And once I missed the second one in theaters and it came out, and I just kind of was off pace with it. So I'm excited to get into the next two, just because I think that the first film, it's funny, kind of like The Matrix. The first film in a vacuum could just be it, right?
Yeah, exact. And dude, again, like The Matrix, I don't see any mistakes or any like stupid, like it's basically flawless. I know it's a subjective thing I'm calling flawless, but as the blueprint for films go, to maintain one's attention every second of the movie, they do a really good job of doing that, just like The Matrix does.
Yeah.
And the fight scene in the club is insane. Going back to what you were talking about when he's like, who cares? We stole his car and beat up his dog. It really makes you think, like, you're not just doing the action that you're doing to someone. Like they could be having a shitty day. They could have just lost someone. They could, like that one bad thing you do to a person could like domino effect into so many other things. And losing your wife and then losing the dog your wife left you to grieve with, any walking human being can relate to that.
Yeah, and
or sitting.
And you start to see even like some of his, not to be spoilerish, but you start to see some of his motivations around why that car is so important as well. When you get into the second film, why he's so passionate, even so, about getting the car back and just kind of tracking down. So I think you're right. I think you made a point there that was deeper than I would have ever connected probably in this kind of a movie, but it really makes you think a little bit more about like you really don't know what someone else is going through. And not saying you've got to tiptoe through life and be absolutely careful at everything you say, right? There's a fine line to any approach, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it
really just hammers home, do unto others, like, would you enjoy it if someone did this to you? Because look at the shit you got going on in your life. That person probably has some similar crap too, and you're just going to make it that much worse by stealing their bike or their car.
I love all the just recurring humor that happens. Like, for example, when Vigo's talking to Aurelio, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you struck my son." And he's like, "Yes, sir, I did." It's like, "Well, may I ask why?" And he says, "Yeah, because he stole John Wick's car and he killed his dog." And Vigo just pauses and he's like, "Oh," and he just hangs up the phone and it's just like, "Yep, all right."
Because any human being can relate to that. Like, you just don't do that to anyone.
Yeah.
Stupid Theon Turncloak. CJ, welcome back.
Thank you.
We were talking about, what the hell were we just talking about? Oh, Liam Neeson and Keanu Reeves. They're both, these movies are similar. It's someone that you root for on a revenge kind of mission, I'm going to fuck up everyone in my way. Who would you rather watch a trilogy of? If you could only choose one, John Wick or Liam?
John Wick, Keanu Reeves all day long.
Yeah, that was basically our consensus. Andrew, the voice of Forky is Tony Hale. He was in Arrested Development. I think he's also in Veep. He's like her like little sidekick, like Igor. He's hilarious.
Was Keanu not in it at all? Was I just way off on that?
Well, I didn't look that up.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry.
On Toy Story, he is.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, Keanu was on the last Toy Story movie.
All right, cool. It's on. It just popped into Disney Plus today, so I'm hoping we can watch it this week. And I haven't actually seen. I don't know if I want to though. Toy Story 3, man, I cried like a baby at the end of that thing. So I don't know what to expect in 4, but I've heard really good things, so I'm definitely into that.
Dude, yeah, the end of 4 is, or the end of 3 is brutal.
Yeah.
Got real scary and real quick. And he plays Duke Kaboom.
Let me tell you why I will watch Keanu Reeves, Matrix, and now John Wick. His character follows the timeline of the movies when it comes to revealing the plot. And let me see if I have never tried to put that in words, so I'm trying to explain myself. You don't get all of John Wick on the first one. He gives you just snippet enough. The movie doesn't reveal the world of John Wick either, but the character, like Keanu, doesn't give you the whole character. And then what happens is that on the other 2 movies, you have the same character. No, I actually believe that he methodically takes you in steps and dives deeper into the character as he goes. It's almost like you see that character grow. Now, the funny thing with John Wick is that he already had decided to retire, right? You determined that in the movie. So now he's kind of like slowly getting back into that world. He doesn't want to, but he's being forced to getting back into that world. And he does such a good job to develop that I feel that in the first movie, second, third, fourth movie, how many did there come, he does a good job of that. Liam Neeson, I feel that I get who he's going to be on that trilogy and the character on the first one. You get all of the character all in once, and you know who he's going to be the whole time. Wow. And now you just the plot changes. But I think that Keanu's characters grow as the movies go.
Wow. Excellent point. That is so true. Liam Neeson is a bad actor because Qui-Gon Jinn, no emotion. Even what was the Schindler's List at the end? I was like, I'm not really believing how sad you are appearing to be right now. Keanu's so much better. Yes, God. And even in The Matrix, it's the same thing. Like as he develops, you learn more about him and the story develops and God, yeah, I love it.
People say that about Keanu. Oh, Keanu has no emotions. I'm like, yes, he does. You see in different movies, he has a different character. I actually believe he's a different character in different movies. John Wick, I don't think he's the same Neo. And
not even close.
He is silly movie. I don't think he is. I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but he also has a drama movie. The Day in October or something about October is about a girl that is dying, has cancer and is dying, and he's in it. And so I think he has different aspects of it. And I always think if an actor is good or not, I always try to imagine that character being played by somebody else. Like we know that famously Will Smith would have played Neo in a Matrix. I cannot see that character be somebody else by Keanu Reeves. And then with John Wick, I cannot see that being played by anybody else.
I think the dialogue would have had to be altered if it was Will Smith, because I can't like hear him delivering, Neo's kind of like just confused, like, I don't even know what's going on. Like Will Smith is more like, personality. Yeah, it would be different. You wouldn't be put in that same mood that The Matrix just wraps you in that like confusion.
Yeah.
I think that Keanu makes a character. He makes it whatever he wants it to be, and he does a good job at it.
Now, was this adapted from something else?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, it obviously has some similar. I mean, you mentioned the whole Taken thing. I never even thought about just the whole revenge plot.
Yeah.
Which this I think has a, obviously a different twist. Yeah. I mean, really for him in this, it's just all payback. It's like, when does this actually end? When does this payback run end? Where Taken, it's just, I'm just gonna get my daughter back.
And the fact that there's 3 more after this, like, just shows that like he must have a lot of enemies that he needs to go wipe out.
Well, without giving too much, there's actually going to be a spin-off too.
You're talking outside of the 4th?
Outside of the 4th, there is a spin-off of John Wick. There's going to be a spin-off. But
what character?
You don't know. Well, I can't tell you because actually
I don't know them yet.
It's not based on a character per se. But you'll know it on the 2nd and 3rd movie. Yes. and it's pretty cool.
Why can't anyone steal his car, or is that a spoiler? Like, do they give you more about that later? Like,
Well, they did steal his car.
I know, but why? Yeah, but why can't you steal John Wick's car?
Because I mean, you just don't steal anything from John Wick. I think from their
Okay.
perspective, his connection to the car is no more than just like you wouldn't want to steal a pencil from John Wick, partly because he's going to kill you with it. Because we heard that repeated, how he killed 3 men at a bar with a pencil.
Dude, my freaking closed captioning wasn't working, and I rewound that scene 80 times to try and hear what he said. They saw him kill 3 men with a pencil. With a pencil.
Yeah, Andrew's right. You just don't do anything to John Wick.
Okay, so
You don't.
the car doesn't have any value to him.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's called Baba Yaga. He's not the boogeyman himself, but he's definitely who you get in touch with if you need to kill the boogeyman. So that's definitely somebody who makes you pee a little if you may have offended slightly.
That is such a great tagline. Like, I could just imagine like all the words down the front of like a movie poster. He's not the boogeyman. He's the man you call to kill the boogeyman.
I love I don't know where you're going to go next, but I love.
Me neither.
At the point where it's like, all right, you've attacked him in his house. Now he's going to respond. And that whole scene where he's like pulling out the sledgehammer and breaking the floor open and getting his stuff back. That whole scene of just like, he doesn't want to do this, but at the same time, like, he's a man of principle and he's a man of focus and he's got to do this. Like, this is the response that everyone expects. I mean, there's one of the lines that Vigo says where he says, John will come for you and you will do nothing because you can't do nothing. Like, there's just nothing you can do. Like, it is just over. I mean, we see at the end of the film where he's just like gives up his son because he knows like, hey, I got nothing left. Like, go get him.
He's like, I can make this right, Father. And he's like, how are you going to make it right? He's like, by finishing what I've started. He's like, did you not listen to anything I just said the last 3 minutes?
There is no other movie that I can think of in which the main character is so hyped up by everybody else, by his enemies, where you didn't need a fight. You don't need him to show you what he can do. Everybody else just convinced you that they did. Their fear, their tone of voice, their dialogue is perfect. It's like you said, every single person that hears, who did he fucked up with? Who did he kill the dog? Who did he steal the car from? And John Wick, it is immediately their terror on their faces. It is, I don't need to know anything about John Wick. I just know that he is the biggest motherfucker there is, and you don't want to mess with him.
I love that he's not invincible also. Like, we see him as a man. Like, he bleeds. Not to quote the Matrix inside of John Wick, but he bleeds. We see him get hit by multiple cars and people that are much larger than him. And I also love that he has his own values. I mean, there's a scene, and I don't know the girl's name. She has that interesting birthmark between her eyes. But there's that fight scene where like she's like, you're a pussy, like you always were. And he's very lightly fighting her until he puts the pillowcase on her head, and then he's just punching her in the face. Like, I'm not gonna hit a girl. But now we're at that point where like I'm gonna have to hit her.
She needs to go now.
Yeah. Breaking the rules here. Not supposed to have any fights or murder on the grounds of this organization. So I love all of like that too. Just the culture that's within that. The mannerisms, the relationship with the bellhop at the front, or not bellhop, but the manager at the front.
The spin-off is going to be on the Intercontinental Hotel.
Oh. I love any story that's set in an isolated place. There was that one show, Hotel 666, with John Locke from Lost, Terry O'Quinn.
That was I thought it was a pretty good show.
Yeah, it was cool.
Didn't really do well, but I remember it being just very interesting. Anytime you give character to an inanimate object like a building, you want more, especially a hotel or anything like that, because it's like, oh, what's in the next room? What's behind that door?
The Shining, Jaws, anywhere where the people are stuck.
I love rules. For me, it's a rule thing. I think when you belong to a club or a society, and you have rules that you have to follow, and nothing breaks those rules. There are consequences to breaking the rules, and there's a code of conduct. That's my managerial hat. I love code of conducts. I love rules, and like they say, right, they cannot fight on the grounds of it. They cannot fight inside of it. You cannot kill inside of it. You doesn't matter how much hate you have for each other. Doesn't matter what's going on between you guys. There's just so things that you don't do, and it reminds me of the Mandalorian, right? This is the way. It is. Way. You like it or not, you agree with it or not, you follow that code of conduct. And in society, I believe, as much as you're dealing in this movie, John Wick, you're dealing with assassins, right? That's what they are. That's who he is. You follow code of conduct, brings you structure. It actually gives you in some way, safe world, because as long as you follow the code of conduct, it's going to be okay, and everybody respects it. And I think that's, for me, that's one of the biggest aggravations with John Wick, is the recklessness of the son, the recklessness of the guy that just goes into his house and kills his dog for no reason. That's, I think, it's one of the biggest drivers for him. I'm really dealing with a reckless person that has no code of conduct. This guy did it for no reason. I didn't do anything to him. There was no reason for him to come. But how cool is it in the plot of the movie that you have John Wick retire from what he does, right? And he's completely on his own. And then no matter what he did, Destiny just brings it back inside, brings it back in. What kind of coincidence is that? That he bumps in the gas station with one of the most reckless kids of this mafia out there, who doesn't know who John Wick is. Because if anybody a generation above him would have known who John Wick is and would have messed with him, I think it's a great storyline. It's a great plot, and bringing him back inside in such a random way.
I loved, like you mentioned earlier, the myth building within the movie of a character that's the main character. I don't remember a movie ever like that. It was just so cool how everyone just keeps saying, John Wick, oh, John Wick, John Wick, John Wick. Where are they? Like, what mafia was that? Like, did they ever make that obvious?
It's just all one universe. It's just a different instance. I'm just kidding.
No.
See you later, John. Mind blown.
Great question, John. I really assumed was some kind of Eastern European mafia based on the accents, but
me too.
Never wonder. Great question.
I'll do Googles. So his wife did really die of cancer. Is that correct, or did they?
Yes.
Okay, no. I wasn't to make sure that they weren't like, she didn't actually die. We poisoned her.
I thought for a second that she would be, like somebody kill her so he's not distracted by the wife and he can stay as an assassin. But no, she really not died of natural causes.
Okay. And it really does seem like for the 5 years
would have been lazy.
He was just living in peace. I mean, he had built his own kingdom, really, his own peaceful kingdom. I mean, we saw the one character show up and just like, man, you got a really nice place here. It's quiet, which is the complete opposite of what he would be used to.
It shows you his discipline too. How disciplined was he after his wife died and after he retires and leaves out of this? He didn't pack up everything on bins and put it in the attic, right? And then he had to go to the attic. He was so committed to being done with the life that he buried it under concrete. When was the last time you guys had some kind of commitment like that? What?
And that scene gave me chills on the back of my neck because it reminded me of in Spider-Man Homecoming, straight off the pages of a comic that was written in 1960, whatever. Come on, Spider-Man! Come on, Spider-Man! Come on, Spider-Man! When he's lifting the cement up off the fucking ground that he just got buried in. Like, I'll never be able to dig that deep.
Yeah. The discipline that John Wick has to have, so he knows, it's like, you know what? I never want to come back to this. I'm going to bury it. It takes his dog getting killed, which, right, when I was wondering if you have heard that before you watched the movie, John, about the joke about, you killed John Wick's dog. But then you learn the movie, there's a bigger reason for his revenge seeking. But again, this is a great association of the character with the actor. So John Wick has to have great discipline, not only to be as good as he is and the skills that he has, but really to control what he can do and control his emotions, control his behavior. And then you have Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is known for his work ethic, well known for his work ethic. And for this movie, he trained. We're talking about real gun training, okay, with top-notch trainers,
man. Just like he did for The Matrix.
He took it so serious. I also challenge anybody out there to show me another movie that has gun battles, and you'll see it more on the second one, John. And without spoiling anything, it is so. Now, of course, I've never been in one, so this is my very naive opinion. But you can actually watch reaction videos on YouTube of people of gun experts, criticizing, giving a critique on his handling. No, and they praise him for it. They really do.
Okay, I was I don't want to watch these know-it-alls bash Keanu. I like him now. I don't want to hate him again.
No, they praise him. How many times that he shoots a weapon and he has to reload, right? The killing that he does, 2 in the chest, 1 in the head, how close he has to be, understanding that in sometimes he has to do hand-to-hand battle, fighting. He dives into the character so well that he's actually became a great shooter.
Right.
And he had to injure.
Fighter.
He was so strategic too. I mean, the knife wound he gets is pulling the blade in so that now he can use it against his enemy. Right? Like
when he makes
every piece.
He's like, go ahead, step me.
And again, that fight scene in the bar, or in the club, like yet another moment where we see him as just a man. I mean, he gets thrown off the second floor, lands like hard on the floor.
Right. We may have gone over this already, but I loved when he was fighting, he wasn't like, unstoppable. Watching him struggle in the fights was like, I don't know. There's something that you're doing there. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's emoting and developing the character in front of your face as he struggles in a fight. You'll never know someone until you fight them.
That was for The Matrix, the Oracle's handler.
Oh, yeah.
When he fought Neo. You never know somebody until you find them.
Well, I have nothing else to add to this, guys. I just loved it. It was everything I expected. I can't wait to watch the second one. I'm really excited about the third one because this trilogy, we'll just call it that for now. We know there's going to be more. It reminds me of Star Wars, the original trilogy, where everyone loves all of them, and they just argue over which ones are their favorite. CJ, which one is yours? I forget.
Well, such a great question. And I've said this before to somebody on John Wick. First trilogy that I don't have a favorite. Star Wars, I can do without episode 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. But I know. Matrix, I can do without the first one, and if I had to pick one, because Reload is my favorite. It's definitely my favorite. The other day was playing, I watched it again, and I love that I don't have to watch it with the first one. But on this one, I can sit and watch all 3 of them. The plot just evolves and it goes deeper into his world, but it's the same movie, just better and better and better and better. And the action scenes get better, everything gets better, but in The Matrix, you'd look at the 3 movies and you see 3 different movies, and the dialogue in this one is the same. This continuity that I love about it, that it really, you can sit there, watch the 3 movies as a mini series, and you'll be very happy with it. So honestly, I do not have a favorite on this one at all.
Wow. And Andrew, you haven't even seen the third one, right?
I haven't seen the third. I haven't seen the entirety of the second. I'm going to agree with Cornelio, even though I haven't seen all 3. I would say that if I really John Wick's got a gun to my head and I had to choose which of his films I like the best. I really like the first one because just like the first Matrix, it's good by itself. So regardless of anything else, like it is self-sustained. I do appreciate the fact that it is something like, from what I've seen of the second movie, it's just straight in. Like, it's just the next. This is done. He's checking the box, and I'm moving on to the next task at hand. And I fell asleep in the middle, and then woke up at the end of the second one, so I know where the third one's going now. And I can see where it's just the next thing, and I'm extremely excited to watch that one. I'm going to watch the second one again in its entirety before we go into the next session with you guys. But I am stoked to see the third for where the second left off. The other thing I wanted to mention, that if John Wick's holding a gun in my head and I had to pick one, I would pick the first one, and I'll tell you a little bit more why. So we learn a lot about his character in the first film, right? I feel like in the second film, we're revealed some additional things. But I feel like at the end of the movie, like, you'd be crazy if you weren't rooting for him the entire movie. But more than just like a revenge thing. I mean, we see he is a man of principle.
Like the revenge stuff kind of goes away and he becomes like something different.
Well, I think that
no,
the people within that culture and that world, he has gained that respect because they know his work ethic. But we also witnessed at least two people that he would call very close friends. I mean, you've got, oh gosh, I should know his name. I'm so bad with names, but his friend that ended up getting killed, that was the sniper that saved his life.
Oh yeah.
He also played Osborn in the Spider-Man movie. I can't think of his name right now.
William Dafoe.
Yeah, William Dafoe. Thank you. William Dafoe, fantastic character all the time.
Forgot to mention him.
I also appreciate him in Boondock Saints. I mean, I think that these kind of movies he's perfect for. I appreciate him more in these than anything, probably, because he fits well into that world.
Yes.
But just seeing the friends he made that he's more than just acquaintances with, that would they themselves break their own rules. Like, yeah, I'll take this contract. Yeah, sure. But really, he's just staying in the loop close enough to the heartbeat of this so that he can keep his friends safe. Like, he's checking on him during the funeral. Like, I think that it's cool to see that, to know more than he's just like, he's really good at his job, but like, he's more than that. And he's more than just an emotion tied to his wife. He had friends, he had trust. So I think that's probably, out of the first film, I thought was really enjoyable, just to see those allies, and sad to really see them really to get killed. I mean, to see William Dafoe's character get killed for standing up for him, I thought was tough.
You think one thing that it shows you a lot about his character, when somebody asks me to describe a person and I need to get a referral, something for a man specifically, I like to say, he was a good man. And one of the characteristics that I look in somebody is they do the right thing. Like, I like it when I meet somebody who I know will do the right thing. And that's part of that code of conduct, right? That regardless of the situation you put in, you do the right thing. And I like to believe that that's the reputation he got. And these people were thinking, you know what? If I had to pick a side, I know the one person that will do the right thing when the time comes. And as the movie goes, John Wick shows you he has a code of conduct. He was an assassin. I mean, he still killed people. We can't ignore that. But he followed a set of rules. Exactly. But he definitely followed a set of rules. And you knew that if you were within those set of rules, you didn't have to worry. He was not going to betray you. He won't betray you. He won't kill you for no reason. Now, if you are on his list, you're done. But back again to the movies and the continuity of the movies, there are scenes that I always get confused and I forget which movie's in, and that's what I love about it. Like, I can tell you which scene is in what trilogy for other movies, and this one, the third one, there's some obvious ones, and you guys will get there. It's actually pretty awesome.
Can't wait.
Yeah, but in the second one too, there's a couple things in the second one that set you up for where it's heading. But then there is other ones that you just don't remember. Like, did this happen in the first one, the second one? And that shows you, how the movie just carries on. But one thing, you were right, Andrew. You can now watch second and three without watching the first one. You can. I mean, you could, but to really appreciate what's happening, you have to watch it in order, and you'll have to watch the first one, second one, and third one.
And you want him just to have a break, but you also want to see him pull off some sweet fighting moves too. I mean, you see him bury all his guns back again in his house, right?
Yeah, and just remember, guys, this movie is not happening like in weeks or days. This is pretty much just one night in one day changing. If you look at that, he's
What?
this is all happening.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
They
like
do go through all the like shades of the sun.
so
Now
it
that I'm
just
thinking back.
this is all within even the second and the third movie. They're still happening all within 48 hours. Everything's happening within 48 hours or 72 hours, I think it is. The third movie does go further, and there's a reason for it. You'll see it, but the first and second at least are happening all within combined in a confined 48-hour period.
I love how his world was beyond that world. Like when the cop shows up at his house, I just thought of this and had to mention it. He's like, "You working again, John?" He's like, "I'll see you later, Chuck," or whatever his name was.
Right.
You working again? Like this dude clearly isn't in. Well, or maybe he is. I don't know. We don't really know how big that world is, and I think that's.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool.
The do the right thing, the guy that a character who will do the right thing, although he's a murderer. Like the anti-hero man of code, kind of like Dexter and Tony Soprano and Thanos. Even it feels like not only does it get crazier and more violent and murderous and bloody, but you also fall in love with this character as it goes. First time watching John Wick Chapter 1. That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We recently eclipsed 50 subscribers and are well on our way to 100. But I sincerely want to thank everyone who participates in what we do. The support means more than you'll ever know. People like Tara, of course, Stephen Lewis, Septon Severcrafield, Joshua Mann, who I'm pretty sure is a bot. But seriously, guys, everyone I mentioned and all those who don't comment, but still check out everything we do. Like I say at the end of every video, I love you. Bye. Oh, hey. Make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and hit the notification bell. And if you're finding me for the first time, I do trailer reaction videos, hot take movie reviews, news briefs on anything Marvel, DC, Star Wars. You'll love it. Thanks.